You are watching VidGoal. And now, from Wicked Fair, this is the ConGoer. Features.
Here you go, love. Alright, so we're probably gonna get started. My name is Mel. Can you put me on the outside? Hi, Mel. I unfortunately am terrible at introductions. Jeff probably did a much better job than I did. But for those of you living under a rock, this is Terrance Zdunich. And basically this is just going to be a Q&A. So you just want to start?
Sure.
Okay, so who has a question for Terrance?
Well, let me,
Sure,
Terrance has a question. First off, grave robber, fucking excellent. You know, I've never done something quite like this, so it's a little odd. But I'll just say this: I think many of you
a lot more.
Yeah, well, thank you. Many of you have come out on the road tours, and if you haven't, I know you probably have seen the YouTube clips of the Q&As of the road tours.
Yep.
So maybe in an attempt to make this somewhat different than that, all I will say is nothing is off limits. We are at a festival full of very creative, very strange, very
Responsible adults.
responsible adults. So you can ask me anything about repo. You can ask the typical, you know, how did you come up with repo, or how do I break into Hollywood? But if you actually just want to know, like, things about Terrance, I'm cool with that too. So ask away.
Just a question. As an artist, what are the things that inspire you? Where do you go for inspiration? Not just for repo, but what inspires you? What are the artists who you read, etc., etc.?
Wow. Well, there goes the hour, right? And I thought we were going to have nothing to talk about.
Start with a light question.
I'll talk a little bit about my process. How about that? And so, as such, I guess that various things of inspiration come into that process. I work really, really intensely when I work. Whether it's writing, whether it's drawing, whether it's preparing to sing. I tend to kind of immerse myself, I guess. I basically turn off the phone and lock myself in a room and get really, really, really self-critical about almost everything. So it's actually a very unpleasant process. And it's one typically done in absolute silence, of all things. I can't write with music on. I sort of shut it all off. I don't know, you know, growing up, I guess for me, like, she said I'm a jack of all trades, and I think that's kind of true when it comes to art, I guess. Drawing was the first way I learned to express myself artistically. It was something that was immediate. You know, you didn't need a sound system or makeup, you know, or really anything. You just needed a piece of paper and a pencil. And so drawing was always the first way I learned. And I feel like everything I did that I kind of picked up along the way, it was like, this may sound like terribly narcissistic, but I always wanted to be the best at whatever I did. And so when I started drawing, you know, it was a weird thing because I was a pretty awkward kid. I was quiet. Had this voice when I was like 8. So it's cool now, but at that age it was very unusual, right? So I was just kind of creepy. You know, I was creepy, and as such I behaved creepy. I was like, you know, I actually lived under a rock, and I would get things, and I'd start drawing, and I suppose at some point somebody said, "You're good." And I think whatever validation that happened from that, I know I'm going off on some weird tangent here, but it sort of defined the difference between me and my brother. We're definitely like a Cain and Abel type story. And I'll let you guess who is who. Yeah. So, whereas my brother didn't have anything, I think, where it was kind of like, hey, you're good at that one thing. And so he kind of, as such, is now in prison. And I'm not kidding, but you know, drawing was always a thing. And I think probably just to kind of really try to come back to your question,